Okay, picking up where we left off, we're on page 382. We're getting ready to do some CSS styling on this thing. Okay, so let's do something that's kind of weird. I tell you what, let's go back up to here and do TD one more time. So I'm going to do TD, but not all TDs. I want to do like the first one. You know, first of type, which means the first one that shows up, right? The first one. So if I go here and say, I don't know, color equals red, that'll turn the text red, correct? All right, so let's just take a look at this. And so that might be useful, right? The first one of the things you see, I don't know, this is kind of weird. It's kind of hard for me to come up with a good example of how this thing would work. I could go in here, instead of saying first of type like that, there's this other one called nth of type. Nth of type. Isn't that kind of odd? Nth of type. And then so this time I want to say 2. Or there's one called odd. How's that? We'll do odd. Which means odd numbers. So odd numbers get the text turned to red. Kind of weird, right? We're also going to use that to do striping like we had talked about originally. So instead of using TDs, I'm going to use TRs now. I guess I could leave it in there, although this is probably going to light up like our Christmas tree when we're done. So now we're talking about T rows. And let's do nth of type. Let's do odd again. Except this time I'm going to make the background color, I don't know, light yellow or something. Let's see what that looks like. That's probably going to look hideous. Okay, it does. All right, but the idea is you've done, in this case, I've picked a particular one. I want the second one, or I want the third one, or I want, the first one. Or the more common use of nth of is to say I want odds and evens. That's an easy way of doing it. Okay. I know this is a little weird, but just kind of bear with me. So I'm not going to use, well, we did first of type, first child. I mean, in other words, the first TD inside a TR, for example, right? It's sort of like descendant selectors kind of a thing. The only one we're going to be ever using here is going to be that nth of type, particularly the even and odd kind of a scenario. So that's actually a pretty cool way to make a stripe table. I'm going to get rid of the red because that looks horrible to me. So I'm just going to make this guy go away. But the rest of it, yeah, I kind of like that. I have a striped table. Yay! Okay, cool. So this is kind of helps visually, right? It's just a new pseudo class thing set up so that you can go in and pick things that you want. The most common use is what we just talked about, making a striped table. I mean, you can imagine there's lots of other uses, but for right now, striped table is the only one. Okay, continuing on page 384, they introduced this new concept called sections. So every table could have sections. And the sections are actually halfway decently described. It's going to be T head for the header part. And then T body. Whoa. For the body part. Oop. I was trying to grab all that and put it inside. Hey, let's go ahead and do a T foot. I don't have one, but we'll do one. So T foot, and let's do T foot as like the subtotal. Okay, so here we go. So I want to do a TR, and inside here my TD. And now in this particular case, the header kind of a thing is probably going to be slightly different. Let me just get the TD working first. So TD, and I want this to say whatever, subtotal. And then after that, I want this thing to read, and I'm not going to do the math. I'm just going to assume it's $412.72. Okay, it's again, I'm not going to do the math. All right, but now I want to. This is not really going to look right because I want to span this guy. I want this guy to be spanned. Anyway, so this guy's going to have to span. Let's figure out how many columns it's going to have to span. It's going to have to span 2, 3, 4. It's going to expand. It's going to encompass 4 of these guys. Cool? All right. So one more time. If I want it to go from side to side, I use a column. Column span equals 4. All right, let's try it one more time. Make sure our math was right. And ta-da! I did. Okay, now I want to change things. So I particularly probably don't even want, well, yeah, I do. Maybe I don't want the screen reader to read that at all. But I do want the screen reader to read this. Headers, subtotal. Okay. Now, let me just tell you an interesting story. Before HTML5, which has only been on around for about a year and a half now, when we were doing HTML 4.01 and XHTML, for reasons that absolutely no one understood, the footer part had to be between the header and the body. The body had to be the last thing. I have no idea why they made that rule. And thankfully, the gods who made HTML5 said that's the stupidest thing we've ever heard in our entire life. Let's put the frickin' footer where the heck it belongs. And so now we're allowed to have footers down here at the bottom. Okay. Kind of weird, huh? So, this kind of thing is well, one more time. Let's just look at this guy. All right, so he kind of looks pretty good. Let's say, for example, I wanted to change. I don't like the way the numbers are lined up because, numbers, typically text is going to be assigned to one side, a line to the left, and numbers are going to be aligned to the right. I mean, that's just the way we do things, right? Okay, so I'm gonna tell you an interesting thing that they created. It's called column groups. Okay, so up here I'm going to do a thing called column group, and underneath here I'm going to put a column. Cool. And so you just kind of pick what you want, right? So this is the first column, and so the first column I'm going to say style, and I'm going to call it, I don't know, how about, well, I tell you, let's do it in a class. So I'm going to say class equals left align. Okay, so that's my first one. The description one doesn't need to be have anything done to it. Unit price, and all the rest of them are going to be left aligned. So let's just grab this guy and go ka-doink, ka-doink, ka-doink. And let's go up here and create a class called, how you do class? Is that dot or pound? Yeah, okay. Left align. And then let's do here, and let's say I want text align left. Okay, now looking at this, you're nodding your head going, yeah, that's going to work. No. Why? Did I do something wrong? No. What's wrong is when they created this column group, the amount of things that you can do inside the column group are incredibly small, okay? Incredibly small. You can't do left aligns, okay? You can't do that kind of stuff. You can do things like background color, that kind of stuff. You can do border, width, visibility. In fact, those are the only 4 attributes, CSS attributes, that can be applied to that column. Background color, border, width, and visibility. That's it. So this doesn't work. just to show you that it does actually work some, let me, I don't know, this is going to be stupid. I'm going to go ahead and call this one background color, I don't know, let's do red. Just something to show you that it depending on what you pick, right, what options you pick, I mean, I know, come on, that looks stupid, but just bear with me. Notice too the way. Remember how we talked about the order in which these things appear, right? That's another reason why the column group thing doesn't work very well, is because it was supposed to line up all these columns, and then yet we applied another thing on top of it, and so the order in which these things appear. So bottom line is, column group is kind of cool, but it don't work. All right, so let's go back to here and let's go and say text align. And we'll do left. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's put this back. So I'm actually going to take this guy out because he's not really useful for me at all. I wish they had done it differently, but I do understand the technical reasons of why it's so limited, but that's not really the issue. So now what I need to do is I need to apply the left align class to every single one of these things which looks like a number. Every one of them. By hand. Okay, this is going to be boring. So that would be class equals left align. And I guess I could light this thing up, make it go a little faster. Go copy, and go boink, boink, boink. And then do that on all these guys, right? Boink. Well, not the description. Boink, boink, boink. You have to provide your own sound effects, by the way. You want it to go boink, you have to say it. Okay, does this look kind of tedious to you? It certainly does to me. All right, now let's see what it looks like. And ta-da! Whoops. Oh. You know, this entire time I've been saying left align and I actually meant right align. I tell you what, I'm gonna do a cheat here. There's a thing you can do that does search and replace. You can go like I'm gonna do Control H, all right, and find left align and change it to right align because that's not what I wanted. And then I say replace them all. Boom. Okay, so I just saved me some typing, and then I really wanted it on the right. I wanted it on the right all along. Okay, let's try that again. And ta-da! Now the rows that have numbers in them are aligned the way you'd expect. Oh, I forgot to do it down here on this last one. So let me go grab that. Okay, is there perhaps an easier way to do this? Because this is kind of annoying having to go in and do that. And the answer is yes. Using some CSS trickery, there is a way that you can say, I want to find every row that has a header of a particular type. Okay, so let me just show you what I'm talking about. So here's how this thing would work. I would say, I want TR, because that's my row, and then a way you can go inside that guy with square brackets, say headers equals item number. That is my selector now. My selector is now find every header that has an attribute called header. I'm sorry. Find every TD. Hell, it'd be better if I actually got that right. Find every TD that has an attribute called headers that equals item number. And then, when you do that, do a text align. That'll save you some. So I'm going to comment this guy out. Okay? All right, now, because I've only got one of them here, let's just try it. And so this one worked, but the others didn't, right? So all you'd have to do is just go in here and just do more of these. Now this is going to look kind of stupid. You could just do this on two. In fact, I'm going to do it on two separate lines. Just because it just looks better that way. Right, you know, you could just put a comma here and keep on going. We're up on the 15-minute mark. We'll finish this in just a few.